Big Buck Registry, Big Buck Podcast, episode number 11. Big Buck Registry is a virtual museum of hunting stories. We preserve a piece of Americana by interviewing and recording hunters about their hunts and experiences from across the country. And who knows, maybe we'll learn a thing or two along the way that'll help us take our hunt to the next level. Hey everybody, what's up? This is your host, Jay Scott of Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast. We're psyched for you to be here today to join us and listen to the part 2 of the interview that we had with the Queens of Camo, Candace, Nena, and Hannah. Candace and Nena joined us from Texas, and Hannah joined us from New York, and we got to break down all the little bits and pieces that incorporates the Queens of Camo, their purpose, their mission, and just got to listen to 3 great lady hunters talk about what's going on and how they are encouraging women and young women to get into the sport of hunting. So I'm going to just bypass any more talk here and chatter and just go right into the interview. We'll see you on the other side. Well, let me pose this question to you. As a father of I have 2 children, a daughter and a son, and I've taken them both out hunting, fishing. My daughter initially, when she was very young, seemed to engage and adopt the idea of hunting, but has since pulled away. She's 8 years old. What should I do as a dad to bring her back in?
I don't know. Some of that could just be her being, how it goes when you get older and your parents aren't as cool to hang out with. Some of that could be just her age and, how kids get. Mm-hmm. And with school, if she's in a whole lot of other stuff, I don't, that's a hard one.
It's a hard one.
It is, because each kid is, they have their own personalities. You might just ask her why she's not interested. Right. Kids are pretty dang honest.
I would also say, I had very similar, I was brought up, my dad, took me hunting and whatnot. And, if you, as opposed to taking them both hunting together with you, I always really, really responded when my dad took the time to make it really special between us, something that was really different, really special, something that, it would be a chance that I was missing out on if I didn't take it. So, maybe to approach it that way, like bringing your daughter and saying, this is special for just us. That is really kind of intriguing and can get girls out hunting. And also, I don't know if Nena and Candace, if you agree, but definitely making girls love stuff. So definitely, I think, really empowering. It's really empowering for young girls to feel like, oh, I'm not just going hunting with my dad. He's doing everything. I have my own gun. I have my own camo. I have my own seat. I have my own, to help her make it feel like it's her own, because it's probably going to be something that maybe the other girls her age at school don't relate to.
Right.
So if you make it something really special between the 2 of you that she can come to you and talk about, and is something that she has ownership of, she's probably going to be more empowered by it if she feels ownership of it.
Okay.
I even thought what Hannah just made me think of something. At the age she's at 2, kids they're really involved socially with other children. Maybe let her bring a friend with her, so then maybe she can introduce another child into the world of hunting.
Right.
That might help with it as well.
Is that what your dad did for you, or were your moms hunters as well?
My mom grew up on a farm. She did not hunt.
Okay.
So it was solely my dad. And I've always been, my dad was a police officer. He's reserve status now, but I've always been into guns, and he always just took me along on hunting, fishing, shooting guns, and he just kind of raised me like a boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
My mom was never really much into guns per se. She grew up fishing, and I actually have a blog now that's going to be called Mama's Mission for Me, and she is kind of where I learned the power of being able to do things in the outdoors.
Did your dad take you hunting, Hannah?
Absolutely. He took me hunting all the time. All the time. We, even if it was just walking 100 feet behind our cabin and like sitting by a tree, even if you could see the cabin, just feeling like we were out there hunting and there was a possibility that we might see something. And, especially at that young age, he would do things that you wouldn't usually do hunting, but that at least made the experience more fun for me. Like he'd bring a jet boil out and we'd make hot chocolate out of snow.
Right.
So even though that's, you wouldn't really be hunting necessarily, you might be making too much noise, but just making the whole experience really fun was, I think, what captured me, that like I was with my dad. This was special. He was teaching me something, and, he would explain everything to me. So even if it's not at that age, teaching like the finite skills, getting the interest there of how to be quiet, how to listen. Oh, what's that scat? What's that track? That kind of is the initial interest,
right,
at least that my dad got me into.
Okay. All right.
And definitely a respect for guns, I would say, is huge, especially with young girls, how to be safe. That was a really big thing for my dad and me, was from day one, this is how you're safe with a gun.
Right.
Definitely.
Talking about my mom, just being kind of the force that gave me the courage and the empowerment of being a woman in the outdoors. Like I said, she would be out there catching her own bait. She would bait her own hook, tie her own tackle, clean her own fish, and then go and fry it up. And so she was kind of that force. And then my dad was the gun enthusiast who kind of introduced me to guns and got me familiar with firearms. And I didn't take interest in it right away. I kind of backed away at first just because of the power behind them. But he educated us early on, me and my brother, early on, so we were aware of their capacity and what they were used for, and that they weren't to be played with and everything. It wasn't until later, when I, met my husband and kind of moved out on my own and everything, that I got more interest in them. And then with hunting, then it becomes more of a tool than just a destructive weapon. So I did back away for a while, but it comes back. As long as, I think another point that I was going to add to what Hannah was saying is, you don't force it.
Yeah.
Even if you just take her out, just to not necessarily go on a hunt, but just to go out and look at the other things. We all know that hunting isn't necessarily about the harvest. It's the experience and the journey, because there's so many other things that happen than just the harvest, and maybe that's kind of where she needs to go.
You could take her with a camera and shoot pictures if, she doesn't want to hunt, or, there's a lot of different things you can go.
Just keep the outdoor experience prevalent in her life, but just don't force it, and she'll probably come back around. If she showed interest early on, I think it's kind of what Hannah and Nena were saying, that maybe some of the kids are giving her a hard time, or saying, that's not girly or something. And
right,
that's kind of what we're here to do, is to empower women and say, it is okay to do this, and to be good at it, and to be proud of what we're doing.
Right. I think that's awesome that you're doing that. And it's a struggle as a dad with a daughter who you really want to bring out in the field with you, who did a little bit, but now is kind of backing off. That's, it's not going to force the issue, but boy, you'd sure love to have them back involved at some point. Whereas my son seems to just loves everything I do. And he'll get me out of bed to go hunting. That's the way he is.
You're like Dad.
Yeah, right. So it's a complex situation, a lot of psychology behind it. But I think if young women see other women doing this, then that won't be as much of a challenge in the future.
Absolutely.
Right. What about the industry as a whole has been pretty much dominated by men in the top of the community, so to speak. What's the reason behind that, do you think?
I think maybe there's I'm a professional chef, and that's another industry that has been dominated by men.
Right.
I think maybe part of it has to do with with hunting, just the physical nature of hunting. It's not a new concept that women are physically, below men, and that men are superior physically. That's not, a new thing, but, definitely I don't think it's necessarily true with hunting. So I think that's definitely part of it. But also I think there's some aspect of being competitive that excludes women, and that men perceive women as not being competitive or being out there to achieve a goal, or to, women aren't perceived to be the ones that come home around the campfire at night and say, oh, mine's 3, this is 3 inches wider, this is 2, whatever, longer.
Right.
And I think that, there's, some women aren't competitive, some are, but I think maybe part of the domination by men is the physical aspect of it, but also the brazen competitiveness that men sort of tend to exclude women from, for no real reason.
Right. It seems to me that, like, growing up, that every fishing show you saw on television, every hunting show you saw on television, every magazine, pretty much up until recently was everything was just men. It just seemed to be the way. But there seems to be this new group of people coming through. You got Ava Shaka, you have Queens of Camo, and there are plenty of other huntresses out there that are coming through the ranks here. And I think that's paving a great future for hunting in general.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of articles out there that have said, women are the biggest upcoming hunting community, market, force. And I think it's really great. I was talking to my mom the other day, who is she's an outdoors woman, but is in no way a hunter or fisher.
That's how it was. And I think that's kind of how it's been ingrained into a lot of people's minds, was the guys were the hunters and the gatherers, and the women stayed back at the cave and, cooked everything up, and that was it. So it's kind of hard to change somebody's mentality that's been ingrained in their minds and in their blood for so long. But Nena made a point earlier when we were just talking before this, that we don't see hunting as gender specific.
It's never been a question to me because it's something I just did. I didn't realize that it was gender specific because it's something, Candace too, that you just did. You went hunting. You didn't realize that it was sometimes an issue that you were there, but it's just been a part of our lives. So when people ask me that question, sometimes it's hard to answer it because it hasn't been a gender specific issue to me personally, because it's been something that I've done.
Right.
The big thing that we've probably seen is the clothing and how things, products haven't always been tailored to women, but you'll still run into those guys out there that are just so anti-women hunters. And I ran into one probably last year, and he just basically spent the entire time trying to put me in my place and prove that he was man and he was better than me and all this and that. And just it was entertaining and kind of saddening at the same time to see that still exists. But I think most guys and the industry itself is actually starting to come around. You see more products out there for women. You see more guys taking their girlfriends and their wives out hunting and being okay with it and being willing to share it as a bonding experience as opposed to a competition. So we're making ground, and we're getting there. But I think it's more about letting other women know that it's okay and that it's normal. It's not something that, is just so weird and so barbaric, and there is beauty in hunting. It's not just harvesting the animal. There's so much more to it. And that's kind of what we hope to appeal to the women with Queens of Camo is the beauty behind it all, the nature, the conservation, the experiences and the quiet moments, and getting away from the chaos of city and your work and everything.
I mean, there's nothing more empowering to a woman than to be able to go out and harvest an animal and cook it and know that animal that you're cooking, and a lot of us you process it too. And it just the whole from A, B to C, from beginning to the end process. You did it yourself. That's empowering, and it even makes the food taste better, in my opinion.
I agree.
Who is the professional chef?
Hannah, I am.
Hannah, you are. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
I'm an artist. Crazy artist.
So we have an artist, a chef, and
I'm just a little crazy now. I work for the federal government. That's really all I can say. Don't hate me.
And you're a Fed. Okay.
Yeah. Department of fence, though, so maybe that helps.
That helps. Excellent. No, that's good. That's a good thing. We've asked a few questions on the Big Buck Registry lately, and I wanted to just ask the questions to the Queens of Camo and get your opinion. We've been asking these questions routinely over the last couple of weeks, just random questions that are related to hunting in general, but I wanted to get your take. So I'll start just running down the questions here, and you can answer as you feel free, okay? All right. In your experience, what's the best time of day to harvest a big buck?
Depends on the rut.
Yeah.
Depends on the time of season, but late morning and sometimes midday, actually.
It depends on the scenario. It depends on the time of year.
Okay. Next up, what is the name of your favorite buck? Have you ever named a buck?
Oh, yes.
All right. What's the name?
Well, you go ahead.
I don't have a whole lot of names. My very first one that I shot, he got the original name of Bucky. So that's really about it. Now, Nena, on the other hand,
I love naming stuff. I named the
she's got the creative mind.
There's been Big Rat Gaddy. There's been El Chingon. There's been a lot of them. Some of them are inappropriate, and I cannot say them on the radio. But there have been some quite amusing names.
Excellent. See, we've heard some very creative names, and they're posted right on the Big Buck Registry. Some I had to take off, but everything else was pretty clean.
Well, with men, sometimes that happens, you know. We try to be as ladylike as possible, but sometimes you gotta, get in there and name the deer some funny names along with them.
Right. How about you, Hannah? Have you ever named a deer?
I have never. Well, okay. I've never named a big buck. We had a couple of does when we first bought our property that had become so familiar with people, they would walk right up to the car and eat hay out of your hand.
Wow.
So we named the one that was really friendly, we named her Amiga.
Okay.
But I've never named a buck, but now that you got me thinking, that could be a new thing.
It's talking to a lot of our listeners that we have realized that there are a lot of names for a lot of the bucks. So I have one.
Yeah, we name our blinds too here.
There you go. Okay. All right. Next one, real tree or mossy oak?
I prefer real tree, but down in South Texas, we go with camouflage, actually.
What is it called?
Camouflage. It's a camouflage, but it incorporates this because it's completely overrun with just dry desert cactus.
And Candace and I have done really well with our ghillie suits as well.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Our baby suits, dressing up like a bush is a lot of fun.
Yep.
The mossy oak, I usually use deep into the fall before the leaves and everything start changing, where we hunt some areas with some darker cedar and stuff like that. But if I'm in a oak tree or a ground blind or something that's not quite as dark, then I usually go with real tree.
It's hard because in Texas our terrain differs. It varies, and we hunt a lot of different places here, so it's hard to pick a particular one because the terrain's so different.
Right.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I split mine. I'm the same. I split mine too, depending on area, what I'm hunting, time of year too. Especially in the Northeast, the weather varies so drastically that I could change my pattern from one day to the next based on sun or clouds, or if you're in the tamarack forest or if you're in the maple area of the property, up north it really varies. So
okay, gotcha. Next is scope or open sights?
On a gun.
On a gun.
Well, I hunt with rifles mostly, so I say open sights for competition, scope for hunting.
Okay.
I agree with that. I haven't shot a whole lot with my rifle lately because of the bow addiction, but I prefer to have a scope because I have pretty bad vision. I actually just wrote a blog about it not too long ago. So any help that I can get to ensure that I make a ethical shot then I'm going to go with the scope.
I'd have to say scope as well, but I have used open sights, and it just depends on the scenario.
Gotcha.
I've shot a lot of open sights with ARs, but just recently switched and put some a really good scope on my AR, and I actually wish I would have done it. In retrospect, I didn't know how it's a lot better with the scope.
Okay. All right, next one. iPhone or Android?
iPhone!
Ooh, BlackBerry.
BlackBerry.
Oh no.
Okay.
I know, terrible.
Okay, up until last year, I didn't have a smartphone, so I was still old school with a real keyboard.
I know. I met her and I was like, what are you doing?
I didn't want it. I enjoyed when I went out into the woods not having service and not having the distraction of playing games or being on Twitter or anything. Queens of Camo has corrupted me with Facebook and Twitter and a smartphone, but it's really helpful to be able to stay in contact with everybody.
She's a social media addict now, and she's not even happy.
So iPhone all the way.
All right. Facebook or Twitter?
Oh, that's a hard one. Twitter I can't keep up with because I think I have ADHD, but and I'm more visual, so I'm thinking Facebook. But sometimes I don't know. I would have to say Facebook just because.
I never had either before this, and now that I've had both, I actually prefer Twitter.
Yeah, let me retract that statement. We met you on Twitter, didn't we?
Yes.
All the way. Big Buck Registry. Woo woo.
I like
I'm Twitter too.
Twitter, okay.
that more people, more supportive hunters and groups on Twitter, and it's just easier. Plus, I can get away with being on Twitter at work much more than I can Facebook.
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah, Twitter is better from a business standpoint. I recently acquired my own business, and it's better to reach people. Twitter is, but Facebook's a little more intimate.
I think that's right. I think I tend to get connected with more people on Twitter, but once I get connected, I can get them to interact better on Facebook.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
Yep. Chevy or Ford?
Ford.
Oh, Chevy, what?
Ford.
That's where we disagree here.
Chevy, I'm with you.
But, all right, Hannah. The funny thing is, the first time I met Candace, we were meeting for Queens of Camo. We met to go out to eat, and she's like, "I'm in the big truck, blah blah blah, like the big Ford truck." And I pull up next to her, and she's like, "Oh, you're in the big Chevy truck."
I know Ford's better. They have way more room in the back for all the stuff that we carry. Plus, my husband is really tall, and he had a Chevy for a work truck once, and he was eating his knees when he was trying to drive. So the Fords definitely have more room. We've grown up with them, so I will stand by Ford.
I just think the Chevys look mean.
As long as you didn't say Dodge, or I'm sorry, is it Ram now only?
Right.
Well, I've owned one of everything. My first vehicle was a Ford Ranger, and I've had a Dodge Ram, and but I'm a Chevy girl for sure.
I'm with you. Chevy's all the way.
Chevy, all right. All right, here's a Bo question. Matthews, PSE, or Hoyt?
Matthews.
Oh, neither.
I'm a Matthews girl.
None of the above. I'm a Bowtech girl.
Bowtech. Oh, that was the other one that came up a lot in the answers. How about you, Hannah?
I have yet to catch the bug. So whichever one gets me into it, I'll probably be a loyalist.
Okay.
Me and my husband have both shot Matthews, and we've converted most of our friends, with the exception of Nena over here,
I know.
to Matthews. So, but I mean, the biggest thing with that is just going and shooting
Try them out.
and then deciding.
Talk to
Right.
people that have them. And the good thing too is now when Candace got into it, she didn't have a lot of options for bows made for women, and now there are a ton in every brand. I mean, you have a lot of options now that you used to not.
Oh, interesting. We're going to do a show on nothing but bows here in a little bit, but I didn't realize they were making them just for women. That's cool.
Yes. Yeah.
Matthews just recently came out within the last, I think, 2 or 3 years. They released their Passion first and then their Jewel. Unfortunately, I started before that, so I love my Matthews DXT. It's a pretty sought after bow because they don't really make them anymore. It's a very short axle to axle bow, and so that's why it was kind of a really great bow for women hunters.
I should say Bowtech Heartbreaker, and her name is Bambi the Heartbreaker.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Here's a muzzleloader question. CVA, Thompson Center, or Knight?
Wait, one more?
Muzzleloader?
Oh, we don't. I'm sorry, I can't answer that because I don't know anything about it.
No muzzleloader? Okay.
No, sir.
No muzzleloader here.
Okay. Hannah, any muzzleloader?
My dad just bought one, And we've been toying around with it. Haven't been hunting with it yet, but we've been messing around with it at the 200-yard range. But I'd have to get the name from him. I don't know what it was.
Okay. Here's a caliber question for deer hunting. 243, 308, or 30-06?
Oh, that's
You went from really small to really big.
Yep.
Say that one more time.
243, 308, or 30-06?
Well, the funny thing is I have killed deer with all three of those.
Okay.
242 was my first deer rifle. I have a scar on my forehead from a 30-06, part of the scope club there. And a 308, I have taken quite a few long shots at, successful long shots at exotics, but it was actually my husband's left-handed 308. I love them all, but I guess my favorite one is I won a 30-06 at a DU auction. And, I guess because the night was so memorable and it was a neat, I donate art to DU and I'm really involved with the Ducks Unlimited here in the Corpus chapter. And so I guess right now the 30-06.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead. 25-06 or 270, none of which you mentioned.
Right. Well, that's
I'd go for 30-06 too.
okay.
My first was 243, but I think the 30-06 is a little more versatile.
Right.
Yeah, knockdown power.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we often get none of those answers, and people will frequently throw in their own answer, which is cool. That's really what it's designed for. All right, scopes. Leupold, Nikon, Bushnell, or Tricon?
Leupold.
Yeah.
Leupold.
Leupold, okay. And let's see, is hunting allowed in your state
Yes.
on Sunday?
Oh, yeah.
On Sunday, yes.
I don't know about Connecticut, but definitely New York.
Okay, cool.
Delaware doesn't allow it on a Sunday, I believe. There's a couple of northern states that don't allow it, which just boggled my mind. I actually learned about that on Twitter. I did not know that that was a restriction, which is just crazy.
It's some of those old blue laws, like you can't iron on Tuesdays.
Right. Right. What we've learned from that question is that states that can't hunt on Sunday are Maine, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Virginia, and there was one person that said parts of Texas, but I didn't think that was right. But
Not that I'm aware
Not
of.
that I know of.
yeah, I didn't.
Maybe some tiny towns or something.
Right. I didn't believe it.
Some counties that have antler restrictions, but not days that you
Yeah,
can hunt.
not
Right.
safe.
Right. All right. So this, the last question that we posted on Big Buck Registry, are there any special routines that you think are kind of sacred before you go hunting? Are there certain things that you do kind of as a good luck thing?
Go for it, Nina.
Well, I have some mascots that I bring with me. One's this little dog named McGruff, and then this little deer, and his name is Bucky. But I also, this is kind of gross, so I can't believe I'm going to tell you this. I'll wear the same socks if the hunt's, like if I'm hunting for a couple of days and it's gone good, I'll wear the same socks.
All right.
And I'll wash them and wear them again until they become unlucky socks. But I clean them between hunts. Just if it's like a 3-day hunt, I might wear them 3 days in a row because they're like.
I recently picked up this habit, and I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I tend to take Jolly Ranchers with me now for some reason. I guess in the past I've had some issues with coughing at probably the worst possible times, scaring off animals. So, in my mind, the Jolly Ranchers will control that. And then I also think with the apple and the strawberry and the cherry flavors, when hunting hogs, they're attracted to those things. So I'm hoping that they just don't try and get in the blind with me. But I always have a Jolly Rancher with me now.
Nice. All right.
I'd say Twizzlers. On my first hunt with my dad when we were in Canada, we had this thing where he only brought so many Twizzlers, and so we had to ration them. And you were only allowed 3 a day, so you have to have 3 Twizzlers.
Wow.
That's excellent. See, those are the quirky little things that we try to uncover here at the Big Buck Registry to try to figure out what are those little secrets that people are using to be successful in the field.
I don't know how successful
Yeah, I don't know about that.
dogs are, but little side for our personality.
Keeps your mind positive.
Exactly. What do you think about the show Duck Dynasty?
Oh, it's hilarious.
I
I
love
love
it.
it.
I love it because it's funny and the whole family aspect of it. It's nice to see a family interact like that. It's funny.
It's good to see like some of the older characters like Bill and Sai, how they are trying to introduce the daughters and even the sons and get them into the outdoors more and get them away from the video games and the cell phones and everything, because there's not a whole lot of that anymore. And that's, kind of with Queens of Camo, we want to draw people away from their TVs. And even though, we'd love to be a TV show, but we want to get them away from the video games and the cell phone and get them outdoors. And I think they do a pretty good job of promoting that.
Right. Last show is the new, I think it's a fairly new show called Chasing Tail. Hannah, you might know more about this. It's I think it's on the History Channel.
Yeah.
And it's called Chasing Tail, and it's a bunch of looks like a bunch of guys from Vermont that bow hunt down around the New York suburb, right?
Yeah. I recorded it because I was, of course, the first thing they wrote was like, in the suburbs of Connecticut. And I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll see someone's house I know or something.
Right.
And I recorded it to watch it. And the day after it aired, I went on Twitter like I usually do. And just about every tweet in my feed was about how unethical they were, what jokers, how fake, how phony, how, they weren't representing hunters at all. And I actually just decided not to watch it. I mean, I trust the people that support me on Twitter and support the Queens of Camo. And if that's the kind of people they are, I don't think that's what we should be promoting at all.
Right. I ended up watching the show on just, not actually on TV, but on a rerun actually I watched it on my iPhone. And it didn't seem like it was all that unethical. They were just bow hunting in tree stands, just in local communities where there was a thick deer population. I didn't really get a bad spin. There were definitely some things that I didn't like about it, but for the most part, I thought it was getting more of a bad rap than it deserved.
Yeah, that was the impression I got as well.
Right. Cool. Anything else you guys want to cover?
We do want to mention that we have another queen who couldn't be with us here today, and her name is Thea. She's the mom of us, and she's from Washington State, so we got her over on the West Coast. And she is
very interesting. She's awesome, actually.
She's very awesome, yes.
She has goats, pack goats. They're so stinking cute.
Oh, wow. Now, how did...
that they take up into the mountains. One of them's name is Tater, and whenever I get to meet him, I'm going to fall in love with him, I already know. She also does a lot of coyote hunting, and she's obviously really good at it if you've seen some of the pictures on the website and on Facebook.
So the Queens of Camo are Candace, Nena, Hannah, and Thea. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Very nice.
And I like to include my dog, Roxy Roo.
Roxy Roo.
She's not officially a Queen of Camo, but,
Well, yeah, of course Roxy Roo is a Queen of Camo. Has to be. You can't not.
A duck dog.
You have to include the dogs.
My
Absolutely.
little dog is Muzzy. He's a boy, but he has shown up in a couple of my blogs because he, even though he's little, he is a extreme hunting and tracking little doggy.
Oh, he's awesome. What he lacks in size, he makes up in personality.
Beautiful. Excellent. If our listeners, if our people that are listening to this show, want to reach out to you, how do they contact you? What are some of your Facebook, names and contact information?
Okay. The main website is, queensofcamo.com. And then the Facebook is, facebook.com/queensofcamo. Mm-hmm. We all I think most of us have a public Facebook right now. I know mine is, facebook.com/Camo Candace QOC. I believe Thea's is facebook.com/Thea Queen of Camo. And Nena's is
Nena Queens of Camo, I think. But then that one gets me confused because it has all these numbers that I didn't put on there that they just assigned to it, and so it's confusing when I tell people. So just look up Nena Queens of Camo.
The easiest thing to do is if you go to the website and click on the Facebook button there, it's going to take you to the main Queens of Camo Facebook page. And under the likes, you will be able to find each of our individual public pages.
Okay.
And then for Twitter, we have, our handles are Queens of Camo, Camo Candace, Camo Queen Nena, Thea Queen of Camo, and Hannah, yours is Artemis Kitchen.
Yep.
All right. Good memory there.
Artemis Kitchen's, hence the chef thing.
Yes.
Got it. All right. See, I'm might be a little old, but I'm still with it. All right.
No, age is only a number.
There you
And
go.
our pilot episode is airing on not just our website, but also on huntit.tv.
Okay.
You can find us on there. And I post links all the time on Twitter to get to those links to watch the pilot episode.
All right. Very cool. If you could just share them with me through an email, I'll make sure they make it to our show notes on our blog and on Facebook and all that stuff below the podcast, so that everybody that's listening can reach out to you if they'd like to contact you.
Sure. We want to make sure everybody knows that we post either a blog or a recipe on the website almost daily. So there's always a personal story or a recipe or something on the website, as well as we're constantly on Twitter and everything else. And to also just kind of look out for us for upcoming trade shows. Like I said, we're really looking into the Midwest Hunt Fest in Kansas. I think it's August 9th through the 11th. So we'll definitely be posting updates on that. So just, check out the website and Facebook. We're also looking for dads with their daughters and women and anybody in general to send in pictures to the Facebook of their recent kills, and so we can show them off for everybody.
We like to hear about your stories too. So
Absolutely.
Very nice. Queens of Camo, Candace, Hannah, Nena, thank you for joining us on the Big Buck Registry podcast. This has been an absolute treat, and we'd like to have you back on again, either as a group or individually, and maybe we can talk about some recipes with some game, because that's something we haven't talked a lot about. But we'd like to do more of it. Would that be okay?
That would be great. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Okay, guys, that was the Queens of Camo. Thank you again to Candace, Nena, and Hannah for being on the show. It was very enlightening and nice to see that a group of women banding together to form a community and a television show and getting everything headed in the right direction for women hunting. We think that's awesome. And if you would like to reach out to us, you can always reach us at j@bigbuckregistry.com. You can see us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/bigbuckregistry. You can also get us on Twitter, which is Big Buck Registry. That's our handle. And you can also go to our website, which is www.bigbuckregistry.com. So have a great day, everybody. And we'll see you next time right here on Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.